Break out those timelines and let your knowledge shine. It's been a week, so let's see what you learned. Eden Hope Academy.
Happens in Northern Europe. So you're going to put a green dot right here. And basically, the Bastille was a medieval building and it was holding some political prisoners in it. And King Louis XVI was holding these political prisoners, and the people got very upset. They were very tired of starving to death or seeing their friends starve to death. They were very tired of not receiving the food that they needed. And so the first thing they did was they stormed. A big group went to this prison, and they were able to get munitions, guns and cannons and things like that, and they were able to free some prisoners. And this was considered the beginning of the French Revolution. And when one of Louis XVI's advisors went to him, Louis XVI said, "Is there a rebellion?" Which would be kind of like a group of people just getting upset. And the advisor said, "No, Your Majesty, there is a revolution." So they knew at that point that even though this was just a little thing, just one building being attacked and just some guns being taken, the people knew that this was the beginning of the end for the monarchy in France. So that's your first card for this week. Card number 2 is 1789, George Washington elected president. And that's a darker green dot, and it's right here in North America. And he served as president in New York, so right up here in the new state of New York. And so we know so much about George Washington by now. We know that he served in the French and Indian War. We know that he was in the Continental Congresses and that he served as a commander of the Continental Army. We know that he crossed the Delaware River on Christmas. We know that he lived in Mount Vernon, Virginia, with his wife Martha. But when he was asked to be the leader of this new country, he was asked to be the king of the new country, and he rejected that. And then he recommended a presidency, and so they said, "Would you be president?" And he rejected that too. He really wanted to go back to Mount Vernon, where he lived with his wife, and he wanted to garden, and he wanted a quiet, simple life for the rest of his life. But they asked and asked and asked again, and finally he relented, and he said yes. But he only said it would be for 4 years, and there would only be 2 4-year terms per president. And the reason he said that was because he wanted to have the memory in everyone's mind of having someone before and having someone after the president, so that no one would think that we had a king, and no one would think that the president was any more than a servant of the people and not the person who the people served. So I want you to draw a picture of George Washington, and on the back you can put so many links for George Washington. You can put basically every founding father. You can put Marquise de Lafayette. You can put just so many links. So I know that you're going to find so many links for that. The last card, number 3, and on the front you can write the HMS Bounty, mutineers. Can you write that? And then you can write a picture of a cool boat maybe. And basically this is just showing kind of a general big story that would have been big in England after the American Revolutionary War. And so this was just a merchant vessel that took off, and they were going to go to Tahiti. So let's look at the merchant routes. So the English people would go all the way to Tahiti, and they were going to fill their ship with saplings for breadfruit. And they were going to then bring these saplings, these little bitty sticks that they can then grow, all the way to the West Indies, where they had plantations, and they were going to. Instead of this just being a normal voyage, the people who were working the ship's hands, decided to mutiny, meaning that they kicked off the ship and put into a life raft the captain and the officers, and they took off on their own, and they landed on Pitcairn Island, and they decided to live there. Eventually, the British caught up with them, and only one was surviving, but it was big news in England. And we thought it would be good to share this story with you because it's a well-known story, but also because it shows you the shipping routes of England, how big their expanse was, and also what would have been considered big news of the day.